Hi, and welcome to the first real episode of my podcast Se vidimo. My name is Polona, and I'm going to take you through different levels of learning Slovene. This episode is all about three things: greetings, introducing yourself, and asking and answering how are you. Let's start with something very basic in every language. Greetings, or as we say in Slovene, pozdravi. Greetings are important in everyday life. We greet family members, friends, co-workers, people on the street, pets, and even strangers we want to talk to. But greetings in Slovene aren't just one or two words. It's a little more complicated than that. Let me explain. We have many different ways to say hello. Some are more formal than others. The most formal and common one is Dober dan, which means good day. Sometimes we just say dan, and that's enough. Then there are informal greetings. They vary across different parts of Slovenia. For example, in the capital and nearby, you'll hear Živjo. Around Maribor and Celje, people often say Zdravo. On the coast, you'll hear Ciao, which comes from Italian influence. Slovenians can often guess where someone comes from based on their greeting. But as a foreigner, you can choose whichever one you like. Živjo, Zdravo, or Ciao. These are the most common ones. Have you maybe heard any others? Let me know in the comments on Instagram se_vidimo6. Now, Dober dan is usually used during the day. But what about morning and evening? For good morning, we say Dobro jutro, and for good evening, Dober večer. You can also shorten them, just jutro for the morning or večer for the evening. And now the goodbyes. Just like with greetings, we have both formal and informal ones. The most formal goodbye is na svidenje, which you'll hear in official places like banks or government offices. Informally, we use addio or se vidimo, see you, and ciao. Yes, it works for both hello and goodbye. Oh, and one more. Before going to bed, we say lahko noč, good night. After greeting someone, you usually introduce yourself, especially if you're meeting them for the first time. In Slovene, it's pretty simple. You start with the pronoun I, then the verb to be, and then your name. For example, jaz sem Polona. But in conversation, people usually skip the pronoun and just say sem Polona. At the end, you can add nice to meet you, which in Slovene is me veseli. And now for one of the most common questions we ask every day. How are you? Again, there are two versions, informal and formal. Informal. Kako si? Formal. Kako ste? The only difference is in the verb to be. In formal situations, we always use the second person plural. But don't worry, we'll go deeper into that in later episodes. So now we know the question. But what about the answers? Of course, it depends on how you feel. Let's go from the worst to the best. Kako si? Zelo slabo. Very bad. Kako ste? Slabo. Bad. Kako si? Tako tako. So. Kako si? If you want to say you are okay, just fine, there are many options, so let's name 4 of them. you can say okay, v redu, gre, še kar. Let's repeat them. Okay, v redu, gre, še kar. And now to the bright side. Kako si? Dobro. Good. Kako ste? Zelo dobro. Very good. And last but not least, kako si? Odlično. Excellent. And if you want to ask back, you can say pa ti or in ti, which both mean and you, an informal way, pa vi or in vi. So, to close the deal, what have we learned today? We talked about greetings. Dober dan, dobro jutro, dober večer, živjo, zdravo, ciao. Afterwards, we said goodbye. Nasvidenje. Addio. Se vidimo. Ciao. Lahko noč. Then we learned how to introduce ourselves. Jaz sem Polona. Sem Polona. Me veseli. And to ask, how are you? Kako si, the informal version, or kako ste, the formal one. And how to answer this question. Zelo slabo. Slabo. Tako. Ok, v redu. Gre. Še kar. Dobro. Zelo dobro. Odlično. And how to return the question, in other words, how to say and you. Pa ti, in ti, pa vi, in vi. Let's finish now with a short informal conversation. Živjo, jaz sem Polona.
Zdravo, jaz sem Janez. Kako si?
V redu, pa ti?
Dobro. A greva na kavo?
Okay, guys, that's all for today's lesson of Slovene. Stay tuned for more. Se vidimo!